Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Plan Explain. Playing 200 Blitz like usual now. Haven't been really playing much in the ignition pools anymore. So for videos, I think this is just the best format. I'm gonna hide the HUD just so you guys can't see people's stats. I don't think that's really fair. But yeah, just gonna try and play solid. I don't play in this pool very often, as you guys know, so for the most part, I'm readless, although there's some guys who play some of the higher stake stuff that I'll have played against in the past. But anyway, A7, we call pre-flop, and just gonna call flop. Can occasionally raise this sometimes, but I think mostly calling is good. And then on the right, I'm gonna play a high frequency small bet here. Basically just value betting ace king. And on the left, just gonna try and show down my ace 7. It's kind of tempting to barrel this hand on the turn, but I think our hand's just too good. And we'll have tons of other candidates to bet, and we still have a lot of showdown value, so just gonna check this one back. And gonna 3-bet pocket tens. So can definitely consider calling here. Ace of diamonds, he's not really gonna bluff with. King of spades kind of blocks hands like king queen. That might float the flop, or king 10. They can value bet. I'm gonna call and hope he floated a hand like jack 9 or king 6 of diamonds. And on the left, yeah, pocket 7s, good bet out of him. On the left, I'm gonna call the cold 4-bet with pocket 10s. Yeah, I think ace king's like just mainly a call there probably. Get ace king again and gonna 3-bet. I think we can stab sometimes, but not always. Rolled pretty low, so I'm gonna check back this time. Obviously a bad turn for us. And on the right, can go all in sometimes and call sometimes. This time I'm gonna call. And I actually think I'm just gonna pitch it on the left. He has way too many ace-x hands and not enough bluffs, basically, is my view. We could even be potentially blocking some of these bluffs, and we really can't improve. So I'll continue with board pairs that have more equity. Obviously my ace-x, and then some draws as well. So I think that's a better way to defend there. And easy call on the right. Obviously it's like dream board for all of his hands. He just has full houses with aces, kings, queens, etc. Ace king obviously blocks aces and kings, so this is actually a hand to consider just calling down. Definitely can't fold the turn. And on the left, gonna mix call and 4-bet. This time we'll call. Yeah, we'll just continue calling on the right. Can improve to beat queens and jacks, and kings, I guess, if we turn a river and ace, and then also we block a lot of his value. And then on the left, I'm gonna start with the call. So it's actually interesting when he bets twice. I really don't think he has full house very often, so I think we either win or we chop. So I'm going to jam strictly to get him to try, strictly to try and get him to fold ace king. Because I'll also have a lot of boats here, right? I'll have queens, jacks, 10s, I'll have aces that trap. So yeah, I mean, I think it's possible we just had the best hand anyway, but if he had ace king that played it that way, kind of nice to get that to fold. Over here, I think I'm gonna do this repping like 10x, sorry, pocket 10s, jack x, like weaker jack x. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to get completely snapped by ace queen, but nice call. I just figured I'd want to have like decent bit of thin value betting there. My hand seemed fine to include in that. Alright, 5-4 off facing a limb. I'm actually gonna raise, and then ace king obviously going to 3-bet. Get called here. 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush. I think can start with a small bet, assuming he checks to us. This hand has a decent amount of turns that we can barrel pretty comfortably. Ace, 6, 7, spade. On the left, I'm going to start with a small bet. On the right, I mean, we have nothing. So that makes me want to check. This turn is kind of a scare card. I'm just going to check, but I could see barreling turn against this kind of player overperforming, but I think it's okay to rein it in a little bit with hands like this. We get raised, which is not ideal, but I am going to call. Obviously, one of the worst turns. And 5-4, just gonna fold. Hard for him to have bluffs here unless he's raising some under pairs. But everything else kind of completes, so he can have some turn jack X that checks back. He can have like king queen, can have the same hand. Against this 3-bet size, I am going to call. Top pair. And on the right, gonna mix call and 4-bet. This time I will call as well. Face a smallish bet here. Just gonna continue by calling. Pretty good turn. And on the right, I think I'm mainly calling here as well. Maybe raise a little bit. Obviously, pretty bad turn. Okay, this sizing is a bit weird to me. Doesn't make me think he's particularly strong. I am just gonna call though still, because I think he's just leaning towards bluffs and just hope we don't get a jack, queen, king kind of river. This isn't ideal either, but not as bad as the other ones. King jack just gonna check and hope we win. We'll defend queen 10. On the left, I'm just deciding if I want to value bet or not. I don't think so. I don't think he has many pairs that can call. He might have some like ace king, ace queen, maybe that hero calls, but I think he's mostly unpaired or maybe has like a very scared overpair. Yeah, kind of what I expected. On the right, easy call on the flop. Pick up a gutter. Pretty quick check. And against this type of player, I'm just gonna bet whatever my hand is worth. So I think 3/4 seems fine. And we get pipped. Darn. Not an ideal flop for kings, but I still think double Broadway is really good for us. We can do lots of small betting here. And we're still getting value from a ton of hands. Ace-9 just gonna keep checking down and try and show down. Don't really have much pot share here though. Okay, ace-9 suited. Pretty big 3-bet, but still think we are going to call. Flop a bad gut shot. 5-4, easy defend. Pretty good flop. Versus third pot, I'm going to call, but it's really not amazing. And on the left, just going to bet this pure. Also not a particularly good turn. Okay. Gonna call on the right, but again, yeah, pretty dicey situation. I think he would expect most of my 6x to bet the turn, so I don't think I'm gonna get him off a chop here. And he could be kind of tricky with his 6x. And I think now we have a very clear check. Works out. Ten-8 off, pretty big open size, but gonna call because pretty sure it's a wreck. And our hand's good enough, I guess. Easy fold now, though. Start with a small bet on the right. And I think ace-10 off here is like ace-10 is kind of the cutoff for turn barreling. I think I'm mainly going to check and then bet it occasionally. And we rolled really high here, so we'll bet it this time. Against an ISO, a limp, I am gonna raise. I'm not sure who this player is though. Like if it's a recreational player, I like this. If it's a pro with a limping strategy from early position, I really don't like it. But I assume anyone limping at these stakes are just recreationals. Against what I assume is a rec, I'm gonna 3-bet a bit wider, so I'm gonna 3-bet this time. And pretty good board for my range, although not amazing for my hand, but I think we can start with a small bet here and it will be effective. And this type of hand barrels pretty well. I think now we can just check and try and show down, beating all of his like ace highs and other floats. Pretty bad river. He's gonna have like ace queen a lot. He's gonna obviously have spades quite a bit. Even when he checks, I don't think I'm gonna win that often, just because I think he'll just have a better pair, like pocket fives, sixes, pretty often. But ace deuce, nice. Worked out perfectly. I'm gonna squeeze here with the rec in the middle. This hand just plays a lot better heads up than multi-way, like against two ranges. So, and taking it down pre-flop's worth a lot as well. On the right, we defend, flop goes check, check. I think checking turn is good as well. Like, we don't really need any protection with this hand. But we kind of block the hands that we want him to call with. So like, we block a jack, we block a club, so he's less likely to have a turn call. And we can kind of let him bluff. Same thing on the river, we kind of block all the hands we want to get called by, so would rather check and let him bluff. And now we can go for a big check raise. I don't think anyone is really checking back a flush or a set or a straight for two streets, so I think we have the effect of nuts. I'm gonna put in a very big check raise here just because I think we have the best hand always. I think this spot is easy to, like if I'm the in position player here, I wouldn't be surprised if he thinks this spot is easily over bluffed, because I'm gonna have a million candidates. So I think this is really good. He can assume like, you know, any pair plus a club is like a decent candidate to check raise here. Or if I have like ace 10 with the ace of clubs, like a lot of bluff candidates, so. Expect to get called there like fairly often. Whenever my opponent can call, obviously like he's gonna have a lot of air that's just bluffing and then that will snap full, but. I mean, I rolled a 4 when I have pocket 4s, so we have to play them. And we're gonna have to call a 3-bet because this is a sign. Another 4's coming. Okay, 9-6 suited. I will defend. Pretty good flop, double gutter. Really good board for the big blind. Could consider, like, actually should consider playing leads on this flop. Like, probably meant to in theory. I mainly don't play leads, but this is the type of board that you should consider doing it on. On a low roll with no backer flush draw, I'm just gonna call this time. But gonna raise this a decent bit as well, and we're gonna call the 4s. Sign was wrong. Pretty easy call now on the turn. And a really bad river. He's just gonna have a lot of hands like Queen 10, Queen Jack, that improve now. But I do think we need to call this like fairly often. So we're gonna have a lot of like 3x, 5x, and 7x plus straight draw that calls twice. So it's a lot less often we'll have a 9. Or, yeah, anything better than a 7 basically. Okay, easy 3-bet on the right, obviously. On the left, I'm gonna mix call and 4-bet. This time, we're gonna 4-bet. Perfect. It's always nice to get those ones through. Against this large of a 3-bet, I think just mainly fold, maybe a low frequency call. And I'm gonna size down my 3-bet a little bit when he is shorter. Alright, pretty good flop for our range, obviously. I'm gonna start with a small bet on flop and then check pretty much every turn and end up bluff catching. But take it down on the flop. Okay, pocket queens, easy open. Ace 4 suited. We're gonna 3-bet this time. On the left, I'm gonna start with a check. Just mono board, ace high mono board is pretty good for the in-position caller. On the right, I'm gonna mix 4-bet and call this time. We're gonna 4-bet and just gonna keep checking on the left. Like, hand's not really worth the value, but maybe on the river, if turn goes check check, we can bet small. Just these mono boards are just meant to be played a lot more passive. Also, our hand's just not very good. When he snap checks, I think I'm actually gonna bet the river. I was planning on checking for the most part, but I think for snap check, I'm going to bet. Just targeting Queen X, Jack X, pocket 10s. No action with the aces. Sad times. Alright, king 10 suited. Gonna 3-bet this time, blinder's blind. Pretty deep here. But if you 4-bet, end up calling our hand. King 3 suited, easy defend. And ace 10. Gonna start with a small bet on this board. I think it's disconnected enough. And yeah, just have to fold versus check raise. Ace 4, easy open. Just gonna check 7-6 here. And once he checks back, pretty easy bluff for us, 7 high, open ender. And just gonna bluff again. I'm just gonna bet 3/4. Not really trying to get him to fold pairs, but I want him to fold hands like king jack, king queen, queen jack, ace highs. Totally fine to get called by that. Ace queen, easy 3-bet on the right. Call sometimes, I guess. Okay, pocket 10s. We get 3-bet. Gonna mix 4-bet and call here. This time we're gonna 4-bet. If we get shoved on, like, gonna call. It's not ideal though, but I'll just have probably all ace king shoving, and then you might not shove jacks and queens pure. So then, like, 10 becomes a call. But yeah, if he's shoving jacks every time, I mean, this becomes a lot worse. Ten. Bang. Okay, on the left, 3-bet. Start with a small bet. Pretty good board for our range and our hand. But him being under the gun, he's gonna have a lot of strong hands here too, so just have to keep that in mind. But we take it down. King 6, I think, actually is in here fairly often, especially with a rec at the table. Or maybe he's not a rec, actually, I don't know. I think it's a fine open, though. It seemed like a very reggy 3-bet size. Pocket 8s. Double Broadway, just gonna bet small. Quick call. Our hand's easy check. Try and show down against 7, 6s, 4x, deuces, and some ace highs. Fantastic river. I'm gonna play check raise. Like, if I bet, I can get called by like some 4x, I guess. But if I check, I can get a check raise in against his weak king x that checks back the turn, and also some queen x. Yeah, and I'm gonna go pretty big here. Like, my check raise range is gonna be pretty polar. Unfortunate we didn't get paid, but it is what it is. Against a min raise, I'm gonna defend king 4. And easy call and flop. On the right, just going to be checking a lot when it goes multi-way here, especially with the low equity hand. I think versus the turn barrel. Out of here. Against this guy, I should fold, but I'm kind of tempted to raise. I feel like he's going to be stabbing way too much, but I'll wait till I have a little bit more going on. Backdoor flush draw maybe. Or if I'm more confident in my read. Jack 8, easy call. Don't think I'm ever raising this combo. Reverse implied odds on the jack, no backdoor flush draw. So just calling flop. Turn's pretty bad because we can never really improve with this hand now. Like if we river jack, we still lose to all the queen X. So yeah, not ideal. River's interesting though. I think we can get away with block here. Hand's strong enough. We can get called by some worse pocket pairs and some ace high, and we'll have a lot of bluffs here, like 10-9, jack-9, jack-10. Yeah, pretty quick call with ace-king. On the right, we bet the flop small. Think hearts, good suit to barrel turn with. He's going to float flop with diamonds, clubs, spades, so when we have hearts, we can get him to fold those floats. Also, we just have kind of a nothing hand, but it's not going to interact with any of the cards he floats flop with, so yeah, I think this is a good turn barrel. Eight, 6-4, really bad for our range. So I'm just gonna start with a check here. Not playing that. Many bets on this board. It's gonna be really selective. And this type of hand just is not really a good candidate. And against a big bet, actually just gonna fold ace jack. Obviously we still beat all of his bluffs, but we block some of his bluffs and we can't improve that cleanly. And even when we do improve, like he's gonna have a lot of strong hands here, so might be just drawing dead already. I would call ace king every time still, I think. Pocket tens, easy 3-bet. And sixes, easy defend. Again, another one of those boards could consider leading, but I'm just gonna check. On the left, I think half pot is actually decent size here when we're a bit deeper. Also, like, my hand really wants to bet on this flop. Doesn't want to let him see a turn for free. You just have a good hand for value, obviously. And on the right, easy call. So we get raised. If we were shallower, I would end up 3-betting the flop here. At this depth, I'm going to call and kind of proceed on safe turns. Like, yeah, now all the money is just going to go in. That counterfeits his value a lot. On the right, it's not ideal, but actually, I just feel like I think I'm supposed to continue there, but I just feel like he's not bluffing nearly enough. I think I'm just gonna shove now. Like, obviously we lose to a few combos. I'm most worried actually if he just didn't 4-bet pocket jacks, but I think this hand just doesn't want to see a river. We can get all the money in against some 9x now if he's playing properly. Yeah, and we have the best suits to do this too, so. Hoping to get called by 9x, or at least, you know, deny equity to some of his high equity draws, or get called by some draws that we're ahead of. So I think tens just has to shove there every time. Definitely could 3-bet the flop as well, but I prefer to do that against people when I know they're aggressive enough on the flop, and I just don't have any kind of info on these guys. Also, when we're deeper, we need to like be a lot more careful. On the left, gonna start with check. And here, I'm going to fold. Face big bet, which is obviously fine, but just something to note. Easy call. Dicey turn, obviously. Improves our hand, but he's gonna have a lot of hands that improve as well. And he keeps going bigger. Sorry, keeps barreling for big size. Easy call for us, and then yeah, river's gonna be tough decision. So he should have hands like queen 10 and stuff that now check back, but other than that, like it's kind of difficult for him to have a ton of bluffs here, unless he's like playing really well where he has like some zero equity, like high-low hands that stab flop and barrel this run out. I think I'm just gonna end up folding here. We'll have a lot of like pretty strong hands ourselves, so not too worried. And easy call on the right. So we make 2 pair, but obviously any jack is a straight. I still think we want to value bet here. He can have worse 2 pair like queen 10 and 10-9. Maybe some queen 9 that check back. So just gonna bet. And we'll keep going for another 1 or 2 more interesting hands, and then call it after that. I think we had some pretty cool spots in this one. Multi-way with no equity, just gonna check back. We can turn a lot of straight draws, so yeah. Wouldn't want to bet this hand and get raised, especially when now we have open ender and like really good open ender when we hit our jack. And pretty easy turn bet now. I don't love this situation, but I am going to keep bluffing. I think this guy's a recreational player. I just want to make sure he folds like basically any high card hands that are better than ours. Like if he has like king high, ace high hearts, hands like queen jack potentially, and then also like sixes and maybe like 7-5, 7-6. So I used an overbet there just because he's really capped. He never has that strong of a hand, and I just want to ensure we don't get heroed by some like weak pair. Alright, ace 8-7, just gonna start with small bet here. And defend 9-6 on the right. Open ender. This turn's pretty bad for our range, yeah. I think this is a good spot to play leads, if he's playing it properly. Our hand obviously easy call, but yeah, like he's gonna improve a lot more on this turn than we will. So I expect he'll bet this river quite a bit. He checks though, and I don't think we have value at this point. Yeah. Can better check on the flop. Went with check this time. Mostly because I was timing out. I think we're going to call it after these orbits though. But yeah, I think now we can mainly bet. Probably want to check back some 9x sometimes, but I think Ace King's going to bet the flop decent bit. If not, we'll bet the turn a lot. So I think we just have a clear 2-street hand with our 9x there. Again, checking back sometimes, just to make sure we still have some straights in the double check line. As always, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment and check out our site. The link is in the description. We offer a Coaching for Profits program, so if that's something of interest to you, please check us out. We've had a lot of students join playing between 15L and 200L, and many have gone on to play upwards of 1K, 2K, some even make it up to 5K. So like I said, if that's of interest to you, please check out our site in the description. Thanks so much for watching.